Much. Welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro. I did indicate that we have three very important conversations to have. One has to do with the launch officially of the Vice President's campaign. The Vice President is knocking on the doors of the delegates of the New Patriotic Party with 200,000 delegates to give him the opportunity to lead the party into the 2024 elections. What really are the chances of the Vice President? We're also aware of the Global Info Solutions polls that it conducted, where it puts the Vice President above 30%. It gives Alan Chairman Camp about 27%. Looks like a tight race. But in all of this, what is it that the Vice President has as an advantage over the others, and what against are the issues that may possibly run against the Vice President? We'll just touch briefly on that, because today is not really a day to look at the Vice President's story thoroughly, but we'll touch base because, you know, it was something that happened yesterday. It was a big event, and most of the media platforms have captured it, both new and traditional media. So we'll touch briefly on that. But our main topic for today has to do with what appears to be the kwane or the cat and mouse games between the secretary or the former secretary of the defunct Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining and the Special Prosecutor's Office, where the Special Prosecutor has declared him wanted. He's gone to the court to get the court to restrain the Special Prosecutor from executing that arrest warrant. Now, the Special Prosecutor is saying, well, I probably don't even need an arrest warrant. If I'm looking for you, I'll come for you. Question is that if the Special Prosecutor actually knows that he didn't need an arrest warrant to come after or to go after Charles Bitu, why did the Special Prosecutor go to a Kanisha High Court to procure that arrest warrant? So it's a topic, it's a conversation that we intend to have. But the bigger question for us this morning is to ask whether the Special Prosecutor, which appears to be on heat, appears to be on fire, whether it is burning the right people, whether the Special Prosecutor is on track in helping the country deal and fight against corruption or fighting corruption. That is the question we'll be attempting to answer today. And also Ken Kranchi is in court. He says he is at a loss. He's not too sure. He's confused as to whether the former president is eligible to stand the 2024 elections. Okay, those of us who are laymen, who are not lawyers, don't understand what Mr. Ken Kranchi is on about. But the lawyers would help us, you know, delve and to sort of explain what is it that Ken Kranchi is trying to do and whether indeed he has a case in the first place and whether Ken Kranchi is actually wasting his time. As the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC has said, as Mr. Ibrahim Maliba says, it's a useless case, it's dead on arrival. Is that really the case? We'll look at that as well. So we will start with Mr. That's lawyer Randolph Chumesi Ankra. He is one of the well sought after private legal practitioners in this country, knows his law, especially constitutional law, and he will be joining us shortly via Zoom to touch on these two key issues for us, and then we can bring in our other resource persons, because Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, who's the MP for Tamale Central, hard-working Tamale Central MP, who's actually gone to oppose, not surprising at all. He's with us here. And also Mr. Kwapna Sapon, he's a pharmacist, well sought after pharmacist, Wabobra, like we see it in Tree. He's a very, very powerful man. He is joining us for the first time on the show. He's a member of the MPP's communications team. He will also be joining us. But let's start with lawyer Randolph Chumesi Ankra. Good morning, counsel. It's good to have you on the show once again. Randolph, I understand that perhaps you would have to unmute so that we can hear you. Hello, Randolph, can you hear me?
Good morning, can you hear me?
Good, great. I can hear you now,
yes,
Randolph.
I can hear you.
Yes. Thank you so very much for accepting to join us. Now, before we move to the Charles Bisu matter, and whether indeed, as the special prosecutor said, I don't need an arrest warrant to go after Charles Bisu. If I want to come after him today, I will come after him. We'll look at that matter. But the first issue has to do with an issue which has gotten especially sympathizers and supporters of the NDC a bit anxious, as to whether somebody could actually put some spokes in the wheels of the former president from coming back to become president should Ghanaians vote for him again. It has to do with that suit that Ken Kranche has been able to procure, or splits before, has been able to procure from the court, which is to say that the former president, he's trying to question the former president's eligibility to contest the 2024 elections. Help us understand, what is it that Ken Kranche is looking for? And whether from where you sit, you think that Ken has a valid point or not?
Yes, Moro. Looking at the writ that was filed in the Supreme Court by the said Ken Kranche, in essence, what he seeks from the court, even though he does not directly go for it, is to restrain former President Mahama from being able to contest the 2024 elections. That is in essence what he's in the Supreme Court for, even though he doesn't seek that declaration directly. He goes around adding ex-President Kufuor, the Speaker of Parliament, and some other persons to the suit. The go-to person, the target of his suit is ex-President Mahama, and I don't think that is in dispute. But having said that, the question is whether or not his claims vis-a-vis the Constitution is legitimate. So if I may be permitted to just briefly state some of the things he's taken from the Supreme Court. One, he goes under Article 62 and makes the case that former President Mahama is not qualified to contest the elections. But if you look at Article 62, if I'm not mistaken, Article 62 talks about qualification of a person who wants to stand as president. And in none of the things he states in his reliefs falls under that particular provision of the law.
Okay.
And then he then goes to, and I don't know if I have the time to just, if you look at Article 62 of the Constitution, it basically talks about a person shall not be qualified for election as a president of Ghana unless he's a citizen, he has attained the age of 40, he is a person who is otherwise qualified to be elected member of parliament, among others. So these are the three qualification criteria set under Article 62 of the Constitution. So if you pick Article 62 of the Constitution and you measure it against ex-President Mahama, I don't think there's any doubt that he's a Ghanaian. I don't think there's any doubt that he's more than 62 years, he's more than 40 years. I don't think there's any doubt that he's qualified to stand as a member of parliament. So clearly, 62 will not come in aid. So that is why I say that Article 62 of his release, his claim under Article 62 of the Constitution, to me, is not well grounded. Then we come to the points about Article 60. He has some 66 and among others, where he makes a claim that by virtue that the Constitution, based on the reading of the Constitution, a person can only contest for re-election into the office of the president when that person is a sitting president. I beg to differ on that because, and I don't think that anybody who reads the law as it stands would come to that conclusion as well. I'm being careful because the matter is before the court, so I don't want to really go into it in detail.
Right.
But the Constitution was very clear in its words that a person elected as president shall serve a term, which term shall be 4 years, and the person shall not serve more than 2 terms. So my understanding is that, and the Constitution actually even goes on to say that the first term expires at a point in time. So if you look at 63, the first point will expire after each election or on the 6th of January before the swearing in of the new president. That the first term comes to an end. So when that term comes to an end, whoever occupies that seat, whether you've been re-elected or not, your first term has expired. So you are coming in as a new person. The Constitution says that the second time that you are being sworn in, you can only do that. You can't do that again after you've served 2 terms, each of 4 years each, which is maximum 8 years. Now, the case of ex-President Mahama is that he served 4 years. So he served 1 term. Per the Constitution, there is another term that he's eligible to contest. But Ken Kranchi makes the case that because he's not a sitting president, he cannot. That is, I don't think that is the import of the constitutional provision. So with that, I don't know. He has gone to court. The Supreme Court is is composed of persons with vast experience, very learned people who appreciate the Constitution probably better than all of us. And I'm sure they will see through it and then give us the decision that we all know to be what the law is. So I think that is what I'll say briefly on that. I mean, he has a right to go to court. Article 2 of the Constitution allows him to do that. As to whether the case is legitimate, has merit or not, I'm sure the Supreme Court will decide on that. But this is my view. I think that looking at the constitutional provisions and looking at the peculiar facts of this particular case, I do not think that his claims are well grounded. I don't think that his claims are well grounded. I don't think that his attempt to disqualify or seeking to disqualify ex-President Mahama will succeed. I do not think so. But the Supreme Court is the ultimate decider.
But, hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, but how about this issue about the fact that the former president is enjoying emoluments? He's been taken care of by the state. The former president is going around soliciting for funds from Ghanaians to support his campaign. And how Ken is arguing that the vice president is benefiting from his office. And so once the former president is benefiting from, he's making profit, quote and unquote, from that particular venture, that in itself can constitute grounds for the former president not to seek for re-election.
Oh, I disagree with that. And I disagree because if you look at the Constitution, especially the provision he relies on, it says that an ex-president or a former president cannot hold a position of profit.
What does that mean?
So
what does that mean?
That you cannot hold a position. You cannot hold a position where you are earning a salary or you are making a living, and the rationale is because when you leave office as a president, you are catered for by the state. That is why you are paid a monthly salary. So you more or less you go home on your salary. Every month you receive a salary. So we cannot have you working again as a former president because of the dignity of the office. There's no office in the country, that is higher than the office of the president. So we cannot have our president going back to work to earn a living. That is why I think in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they decided that when you leave office as president, the state must dignity with which the office conferred on you, you still maintain same, even in your absence from that office. So the fact that the president is contesting, is putting himself for re-election, does not amount to occupying the position for profit. We have to look at whether, as flag bearer, that office pays him. That's one thing. And I doubt that as flag bearer, he receives any monthly earnings from the political party. And secondly, the claim that he's soliciting for funds, I mean, that is neither here nor there, because as a former president, he can even set up an NGO, to run an NGO, which obviously is not for profit. And as part of the goals of the NGO, appeal for funds towards that end. So are we going to say that if he was running an NGO and he appealed for funds, that will constitute profit? I don't think that is the case. So for me, no matter how you turn and twist that particular provision vis-a-vis the facts of this particular case that we have before us, I don't see how it will fit into the Constitution. I don't see how, because the first question that Ken Kranchi would have to prove before the Supreme Court is whether the former president is occupying an office of profit.
I see.
Whether he's occupying an office of profit. So that's the first question he would have to even prove before we talk about the fact that whether there's an interpretation in there. And mind you, he's not seeking an enforcement. From what I have read from the reliefs, he's seeking an interpretation of the provisions. And in my view, as to whether the provisions there are unclear, I think you are in a better position to speak to that tomorrow. Okay. When you read it, I'm sure you get a clear understanding as to what the provision is. All right. I don't think that, as it stands, the former president occupies any position of profit, which requires him to have gone to Parliament for permission.
I see. That's interesting. Let's move to the back and forth between the special prosecutor and the former secretary of the dissolved Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, and that's the INSEM. And I'm talking about Charles Bisu. Remember, he's also a former presidential staffer. Now, he's gone to court, and he's gone to court to get a restraining order or to obtain a restraining order to stop the special prosecutor from executing an alleged, arrest warrant to effect an arrest on Charles Bisu. What do you make of this whole, incident, or to call it this development between special prosecutor and Charles Bisu? Remember that the special prosecutor has also come to say, well, we don't even need an arrest warrant to arrest you. So what are you on about?
So, Moro, the
Okay, so sorry, we have some challenges with the Zoom, as you can tell, where the sound is not clear, and so we'll fix it as quickly as possible, and then I will get back to lawyer Randolph Chumisiankra. Randolph, I'm told we have a clearer line now, so can we have you back?
Okay.
Hello, Randolph. Yes.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that
Okay.
the position you refer to as being the position of the office of the special prosecutor,
Right.
subsequent to the decision of the courts, is actually the position of the law. So there is no dispute about that.
Right.
And I say so because the OSP Act vests the special prosecutor with the powers of the police in the exercise of his functions. And the police, as part of his powers, has the power to arrest with or without a warrant. So if they say that they are not under any obligation to arrest only with a warrant, yes, they are right. But then that raises the question that why did you issue a warrant of arrest in the first place?
Well, I'm told my sources, again, Randolph, my sources are because I had to do some checks this morning before coming on air. My sources are the special prosecutor's office says that they did not go for any, they've not procured any arrest warrants for Charles Bisu. And that if anybody has any evidence to show, the person can do that. But there's no such thing. So they're wondering where this whole news is coming from, where this whole information is coming from, that the special prosecutor has gone to some Kaneshie High Court to go and secure an arrest warrant. That, as far as they're concerned, there's nothing like that.
Well, that is what we are being told by the Office of Special Prosecutor. But then if that is the case, then what the Special Prosecutor is saying is that Charles Bisu has misled a public officer, which is the court. Because if there's no arrest warrant that has been procured by the Kaneshie District Court, because don't forget, in the suit titled suit number HR/0101/2023, which is titled Charles Bisu versus Office of the Special Prosecutor as first respondent and the Kaneshie District Court as a second respondent, I have before me the application, ex parte application, the application that was made without notice to the special prosecutor, seeking the interim order which we are discussing now. And in that application, they depose to the fact that the special prosecutor has procured from the Kaneshie District Court an arrest warrant. So if the case, as you are informing me now, that the special prosecutor says it has not procured any arrest warrant from any court is true, then clearly Charles Bisu has misled the court or has engaged in what we call fraud, dishonesty. Then that is what it is. And that in itself is even an offense.
Because you see, as we speak, our court reporter did not actually tell us that Charles Bisu's lawyers actually displayed the arrest warrant before the judge. Nobody has seen this arrest warrant we're talking about. You know, do you think, for instance, that should have been made public, available to the public for the public to see that it is on this basis that I decided to go to court to pray the court to restrain this man from executing this arrest warrant, because we've not even seen the arrest warrant.
Okay, so Moro, you may be You may be right. You may be right, because as you can see, I have before me the motion pursuant to which the court gave the order. And it's an application that was sent for an injunction, interim injunction.
Right.
And I'm looking at the list of exhibits that they attached. They've listed 1 to 15 exhibits. And I've scanned through it quickly, and I'm not seeing any exhibition of the said warrants.
Good. So then, Randolph.
Of arrest.
Good.
So you may be right, but I'm saying you may be because, yes.
That's fine. So let's.
So I'm saying maybe.
Yeah. So if we're going to proceed based on the assumption, which is a safe assumption to make, because, like you said, it's not been included as part of the exhibits in the rate that's been put before the judge. So my question now is that if indeed there isn't any evidence of an arrest warrant of Mr. Charles Bisu, on what basis then did the judge say, do not go ahead to execute the warrant? Which warrant? What warrant? I don't want to get a point I'm making.
In effect, yes, so I want to be cautious here. And what that means is that the court was probably misled by the decision, because I want to be very factual here, because we are dealing with a particular court document. So if you may just permit me.
Yes, that's fine.
Yes. So in paragraph let me just go and I'll find it, and then I'll refer to you where the specific paragraph in the application where they said that they've gone ahead to procure a warrant from the court.
Yes.
Now, if that is the case, as you are making me understand, and as the document before me seems to be supporting, then I take the view that the court was possibly misled into believing that there was an arrest warrant in existence.
Right.
But if there is no arrest warrant in existence, then it means that that portion of the court's decision which seeks to restrain them from enforcing or executing the warrants, the arrest warrants, obviously will not be effective, or will not be able to, it's obvious, it's moot, because there's no arrest warrant.
Okay, fine.
In the first place. So then we have to focus.
Right, but Randolph,
But
Randolph, will it make a difference, for instance, if the arrest warrant was issued, say, last year? Because this year...
No, it wouldn't make a difference.
Because this year, it is evidently clear that there isn't any arrest warrant, because I haven't seen it. But what if it was last year?
No, it couldn't have been last year, because once again, looking at the documents that I have before me, and if I may be permitted to digress a little, this fight between the OSP and Charles Bisu did not start today. It started by, remember when Anas published his video
okay. So, well, there's again, we apologize, but again, we're facing some technical challenge with the Zoom. We'd have to get, to be fair to Randolph, we get him to land safely and beautifully. Otherwise, you know, he wouldn't have been allowed to make his point. Okay, good. So Randolph, understand that we have you back. Hello, Randolph? Hello, Randolph? Okay. All right. We'll deal with it. It's just a slight glitch. We'll deal with it. But let me add this. This is the point. I would bring in my resource persons to join us in the studio for what promises to be a very insightful and very interesting conversation. Mr. Kwabena Mafo is a member of the New Patriotic Party's, Mr. Kwabena Sapon, my apologies for that, is a member of the New Patriotic Party's communications team. He hardly goes on media platforms. He's a very busy man. But this is where relationship counts. I was able to wake him up this morning and got him to join us here this morning. Good morning, sir. Good to see you. Good morning, sir. Mr. Sapo, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Please get a bit closer to your microphone so that we can hear you clearly. Yes, your microphone. Fantastic, fantastic.
Okay, this is the
All
first time I'm
yes,
being
yes,
here.
yes, yes. Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Yes.
Long time.
Long time.
Yes, yes.
I've been at Metro
Right.
about this, but maybe the third time.
Third time.
At this place the first time.
Okay.
There were a couple of times
Been on Good Morning
I
Ghana.
came with the NDC. I
Okay.
think it was the regional chairman or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
That was at the
Oh,
old
that's
place.
Adekoka.
Adekoka.
Ah, to Laboni. Right. Good to see you though. For some reason, you never age. I don't know what your
Why?
trick. You're always looking young.
I'm now at the
Okay.
I'm now at the departure lounge.
Oh, I see. And the honorable, indefatigable, hard-working member of parliament for Tamale Central. Good morning, boss. Good to see you. And it's always a pleasure having you there. Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Right. All right. So we're trying to wrap up nicely our conversation with Rindolph Chumesi-Appiah. We had some technical glitch with our connection to the Zoom link. When we sort it out, we would wrap it all up with him so that he doesn't say, well, there were some issues that I needed to say, but because of the technical challenge, I couldn't. So Rindolph is back. I'm told, Rindolph, you're back. Hello,
Can you hear me,
Rindolph?
Moro?
Yes, I can hear you, yes. So I was asking whether if the arrest warrant was procured last year, whether it makes a difference. You're saying it's not possible.
But if the arrest warrant was procured last year, it wouldn't make a difference because once there's a warrant of arrest, it will have to be executed, and the execution will be completed when the person is arrested. So
Okay.
long as the person has not been arrested, it will not make a difference. However, you will notice from the order of the court that it is not only the arrest warrant that was the subject.
Yeah.
And if I may be permitted to also add, this order was procured pursuant to an ex parte application,
Right.
which means that it was made without notice to the other persons, that's the OSP.
True.
So by law, it has to expire in 10 days. But I noticed that the judge stated that it will be in existence till the final determination of the matter. But I'm sure the lawyers will take that one up. Now, having made the point that about the order and how it was procured and then the seeming error of law on the face of it. Now, the question is, yes, the OSP can go ahead and arrest without a warrant because the order does not even talk about that. And the law says that where there is a reasonable grounds for a police officer, in this case as OSP, to suspect that someone has committed a crime, they have every reason to go in and arrest. And you notice that this whole back and forth between the OSP is based on the first and foremost the video of Anas wherein Charles Bisu is seen to be receiving what appears to be money inducement.
Right.
And then the recent publication of the Venerable Professor Frimpong Boateng's report on the works of some of the interministerial committee members. So, and then from the affidavits that I have before me, you will notice that the OSP has indicated several times that they've completed the investigation on some of these matters. So clearly they have a reasonable ground to suspect that the said Charles Bisu may have committed a crime or is involved in a crime. So in my view, they can go in and arrest him without a warrant. Nothing stops them from doing that. That is if they have a basis to do so.
Right.
Now, the question is, if you look at the back and forth, as I indicated, that it's been like this from December 2022, the back and forth between Charles Bisu and the OSP, the signal is sent to the public that there is more or less a certain feud between the OSP and Charles Bisu, or there are several suits pending between them. That is, there's one in the general jurisdiction, Charles Bisu, Office of Special Prosecutor, Anas and Tiger Eye. Then this one comes in. So I'm of the view that if the OSP had just exercised its power to arrest and had gone into arrest, we would not be having all this imagery or this attempt to create the image that the OSP is targeting one person. And also there is this concern, and this is my personal concern with regard to all that is going on. You know that on the brouhaha about the special prosecutor, his role vis-a-vis the call on him to intervene in the Galamsey matter since the publication of Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, Now, you will notice that the OSP does a lot of publication on this website. But when you go there, you notice that the people who have been invited so far, and I stand to be corrected, who have been invited so far or who have been arrested so far in connection with this Galamsey saga has been Professor Frimpong Boateng, and then the attempt to also arrest Charles Bisu. But I recall that from my reading of, and I say this because if you look at the application that was filed by Charles Bisu, he raises issues of fairness, reasonableness on the part of the OSP. So clearly, in the view of Charles Bisu, the OSP is fair to.
All right. Unfortunately, we couldn't conclude that conversation with Randolph Chumesiapia, but it is worthy of note that there are two issues before the court. One has to do, or Charles Bisu has two issues with the Special Prosecutor's Office. Now, one has to do, okay, so Randolph, I'm told you're back. So Randolph, if you can just conclude, because we seem to be having some challenges with the Zoom. Yeah, Zoom link.
Yeah, so I don't know where you lost me, but let me just take it up from here.
Right.
That in the suits by Charles Bisu, in fact, in both of his suits, he makes a claim that the OSP's conduct towards him breaches Article 23 of the Constitution, that is unfair and unreasonable.
Right.
And I'm of the view that for the OSP to diffuse this.
Oh, okay. All right. So two quick issues. Now, we have to know that now Charles Bisu's issues of Charles Bisu is in court with the OSP on two issues. One has to do with the finished investigations by Martin Amidou on the Anas case, and the second one has to do with the interim investigations. Now, on the Anas case, he's filed a writ and an injunction application to say that the special prosecutor cannot prosecute him because he has already been set free by the police. The CID looked into the matter and said, he's kosher, he's clean, so go and sin no more. So he says, why do you want to prosecute me when the police says I'm clean? That's one. Now, the second case with the INSEM, of course, I'm talking about the committee. He's refused to attend to the direction of the OSP, and that is in respect of this whole arrest warrant drama which has come up. The INSEM wants them to come around. He's been talking about, the timing of the investigation, the timing of his invitation. Apparently, his lawyers wrote to the special prosecutor telling him that, look, the day you want to see my client is not possible. Can you give us another day? And the special prosecutor says, no, I can't give you another day. I want you to see you on the very day that I need you to be here. So, so that's the issue. Let me come back in-house. Randolph, unfortunately, I'm not sure we can come back to you. Let me start with Mr. Sapong, who is the one of the communications members of the New Patriotic. But Sapong, people who have been observing what's been happening within Charles Bisu, Professor Frimpong Boateng, special prosecutor, and there's a certain sense that the government's unseen hands are manipulating, and I'm talking about perception, optics. I'm not saying that's the reality or that's or have any evidence, but how do you respond to persons who feel that the government's long unseen hands is involved in this whole special prosecutor's work? Because if you look at the chronology of events, Professor Frimpong Boateng speaks. A few days later, we're told he's been invited by the special prosecutor, and apparently it turns out that the invitation was even much earlier. And then a day or two later, we're told that Mr. Charles Bisu has also been invited. And some say it looks like the government has an axe to grind with Professor Frimpong Boateng. That's why the special prosecutors treat him. Where do you stand on this whole matter as far as the special prosecutor's work is concerned, Professor Frimpong Boateng's expose and all the issues that have come out? Your preliminary thoughts on that. I wanted us to talk about the vice president's launch, but I'm looking at the time. If there's time, we'll look at the vice president's launch, campaign launch, briefly before you take leave of us.
Well, the special prosecutor's case is very serious, and I think we must spend a lot of time
on it.
Talk about it. There are so many issues. One, Frimpong Boateng, two, Charles Bisu. Three is the government manipulating or influencing the special prosecutor. Is the special prosecutor abusing his office or, being too harsh or something like that. Okay, I don't know where to start.
Right.
But and then my colleagues in the NDC has even issued a press conference. I don't remember whether it was said or
it was just 2 days ago. I think I heard a member of Parliament for Wild West, that Rashid Pelpu, asking that the special prosecutor must go, beyond
must arrest. So that those, to me, I would like to even start from there.
Okay, you think it doesn't make sense?
That any lawyer who will say
right
the special prosecutor should arrest Gabi, Captain Koda,
yes,
or Lord Comey,
yes,
Protozua, of any of those guys who were mentioned in from Pombatin, it's not a good lawyer.
Why would you say that?
It's not a good lawyer.
But these were people whose names were mentioned in the report.
Jesus Christ, what were their names mentioned for?
Well, attempted.
Is that corruption? Is that corruption? Go and look at the objective of the special prosecutor office.
Or its mandate.
Its mandate. It's nothing more than to investigate, prosecute corruption and corruption-related matters. Is doing Galamsey corruption? I want somebody to tell me. I'm not a lawyer. But I've got enough sense to read and understand. So if you are a lawyer or an MP and you sit down and you call for Gabi and these people to be arrested, then it tells me that you are doing that on emotions and nothing more.
Right.
You are doing politics. I'm doing politics here because it's the same people, NDC, who had a press conference and said Frimpong Boateng should be arrested. Am I lying? Is that not correct?
Right.
What happens when Frimpong Boateng was arrested? What did they say? I'm asking you. What did NDC say when Frimpong Boateng was arrested? They turn round and say,
okay,
we are sacrificing, we are kind of hurting from Frimpong Boateng.
That is true. That was said. Yes. I'll come back to you, sir. Let's play that sound bite.
So I'm not angry.
No, I know. Understand. I know you very
okay.
well. So I know you're a passionate talker. Let's watch the video of the Member of Parliament for Wa Central. I'm talking about Rashid Pelpu when he was making that call on the arrest of other persons aside those we are aware have already been invited by the special prosecutor.
We believe that if government wants to demonstrate seriousness in the fight against Galamsey, it must go beyond the arrest of Professor Frimpong Boateng. It should go wider by ensuring the arrest of government and Jubilee appointees at the heart of government, which includes Mr. Gabi Ochiredako, the President's cousin, the Director of Operations, Mr. Lord Comey, including Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, who have all been cited by the committee. It is our opinion that a public inquiry on the committee reports and damage to our forest reserves is necessary, especially with the now wider destruction of our lands and rivers by Galamsey operators. It is unthinkable that the state, including all its reserves, its lands, rivers, money, people, are left to an elected government to manage. And it turns out that the government itself is a key sponsor of the destruction and misuse of these resources. Our cocoa farms are diminished. Our people are drinking mercury, polluted water. Our rivers are dying, and our forest reserves are destroyed on a daily basis.
Yeah, so that's the Member of Parliament for Wa Central. That's the Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpu making a call for some other persons to be arrested in connection with a report which has been published or has been produced by the chairman of the INSEM, Professor Frimpong Boateng, who is also the minister or former Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation. Before I come back to Mr. Sapong to continue with his submission, let me say that the WhatsApp line It's 055 300,000 35. So 055 3, so actually 30,000 and 35. So 055 30,000 and 35. So that's the WhatsApp line for those of you who have an opinion that you intend to express on the topic under discussion. So, Mr. Sapon, yes, you just heard Mr. Dr. Rashid Pelpo. Yes. It just purchases the point you're making.
If he says there must be investigation, okay?
Yeah.
And Galamsey, I agree with him 100%.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But if he says the special prosecutor cannot even investigate Galamsey, because that's not his job. The special prosecutor cannot investigate anything other than corruption and corruption-related activities. Look at Section 2 and Section 3 of the Act. Section 2 is objective. Section 3 is how to achieve that objective. And it's consistent. I'm not good at the handset. Otherwise, I would have read it for people to see. Section 2, functions of the office. Investigate, listen, investigate and prosecute cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses under the Procurement Act. 2, investigate and prosecute allegations of corruption and corruption-related offenses under the Criminal Offences Act, Act 1960. 3, investigate and prosecute allegations of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption in related offenses involving public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector involved in the commission of the offense under the Act.
Okay.
There's nowhere where or corruption, when you go further, it says corruption under any other law in Ghana. So without even stating the Procurement Act and Act the 1960 Criminal Act law, the third portion, another portion will say he can investigate corruption in any related activities in Ghana. That is a general subject of it.
Okay.
So if I say you try to influence me without telling you that you gave me money or you gave me anything to stop me from doing my work, is that corruption? Should I invite you? Hey, no. Unless I make allegation that in your effort to influence me, you gave me money or you gave me something, okay, to induce me to stop what I'm doing. That is corruption. Frimpong Boateng did not say that in the report. He didn't indicate that anywhere in the report.
He only said Gabi put a call through.
Right.
That's all.
Of the people he indicated in the report that you can maybe attribute corruption to are 3. 1, Eko Owisi. 2, Mr. Mante. Because in the report, Frimpong Boateng stated that they sold excavators, put it in the account of Mante, who withdrew the money and gave it to Eko Owisi.
Right.
That is a corrupt act because the excavator they sold did not belong to them, it belonged to the state. Okay. Then the third one is Professor Kwam. Professor Kwam is alleged, according to the report, to have collected secured a large-scale mining concession. Okay? And he turned around and cut those concessions into small-scale mining lots for 200,000 cedis apiece. Is the law against it? Is that corruption? Okay? It's not corruption. But if you say that is corruption, because maybe the law does not allow you, okay, to distribute that and sell to people. So we can say that that is corruption. I don't know.
Right.
Okay, but somebody, the special prosecutor can, if the special prosecutor feels that act by Professor Kwam constitute corruption or is corruption related, then Professor Kwam can be invited. So if Frimpong Boateng, the OSP has not invited Gabi, has not invited Captain Koda, has not invited Lord Comey, has not invited Protozoa, and there's another guy at Neil Teko. If these guys have not been invited, it is not because they are working at the Jubilee House. It's not because.
Right.
Why is this boy being invited? Charles
Bisu.
Because there's evidence from the Anas report that he took money, right? That is corruption. That is why he's being invited.
Well, it depends on, but this is the same case which went to the CID, and the CID said, "What? They don't see that as being corrupt."
No. The
The
CID can investigate anything. Anything. I'm only saying that people are saying we are discriminating, we are punishing Frimpong Boateng.
Right.
Because of the names mentioned in the report. He's the big fish. That is the whistleblower is now becoming the accused.
Right.
Okay?
True.
Whistleblower is now becoming the accused.
Right.
That is what people are saying. And especially those who are leading that charge are the same people who have asked for this whistleblower to be arrested.
True.
These same people. So let's put it aside. And I'm saying...
I just needed to correct the impression that you created, that the fact that we saw some monies exchanging hands between Charles Bisu, so that in itself constitutes an act of corruption.
That's right.
Necessarily.
So, that's right.
Right.
So special prosecutor can invite him.
Right.
But there's no act of corruption involving Gabi, Captain Koda, Protozoa, Nite Kotego. No act of corruption.
So that's in response to what Dr. Rashid Pepwa said.
Yes.
It's much ado about nothing.
Yes, it's much ado about that. And it's not only NDC who has said it. A lot of people.
Okay.
Social media.
Right.
This is the civil society organizations have all said that.
That's fine.
But please, let us take our attention to the OSP, their functions. Only if I kill somebody now, I'm a PEP,
right,
and I kill somebody. Okay, I'm accused or alleged to have killed somebody. The OSP can never touch me because that is not an act of corruption. Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Now,
okay, please go ahead.
We come to George Bisu.
Yes,
Charles Bisu.
Yes.
His case is simple. Very simple. He is saying that the OSP is an interested party in the Anas case. The OSP was the lawyer of Anas. The OSP wrote the report that went to the Special Prosecution Office for the Special Prosecutor to use. So he cannot be a judge and a prosecutor at the same time in his court. That is what this thing says. He has even asked the OSP, the report that the OSP used, what is his name?
Is it Anas?
No, the OSP, his name now.
Oh, you mean Kisei Jabeng?
Kisei Jabeng, yeah. You wrote that report and gave it to the OSP. At that time, you were the lawyer for Anas.
And Hamidu was then the special prosecutor.
And you wrote a report to the OSP. Now you are going to use this report to prosecute me. That is what I'm saying. You are interested party. You cannot handle that case.
So that's the matter before another court.
No, it's a matter before the court. That's the whole argument now.
Yes.
That is the whole. Do you know that the court said that is the whole argument?
And that the OSP is conflicted.
It's conflicted. So when it comes to Charles Bisu, OSP, you must stay aside. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. The report that the OSP, you wrote it. That is what I don't know whether that is right or not, but I'm just telling you.
Understand. These are the facts of the case. Yes.
Yeah, these are the basic facts of the case. It's
so
not
until that is dealt with,
yes,
don't even bother to invite me.
Yes,
to come to you. Come to you,
or exclude yourself. Let your maybe assistant or something, because the report that they are going to use, you wrote that report.
But what if the special prosecutor's invitation to you has nothing to do with this video you're talking about, or with this report that Kisei Jabeng wrote to the special prosecutor?
Yes,
when
the special prosecutor is investigating on Anas report. Anas. Okay?
Yes.
That's the best. That's why he started the whole thing.
I understand. I'm saying that.
Yes.
But there's a new report. There's the Professor Frimpong Boateng report. I'm sure. Okay, so here's the thing.
The Frimpong
we're not too sure.
Yes.
Okay. We do not have, so I'll come to you, Honorable. We do not have specifics, clarity
Yes.
on the charges against Charles Bisu, for which reason the special prosecutor says, I want to see you. Come to
Yes.
my office.
Yes.
Okay? So I'm just saying that until and unless we get to see that, aren't we jumping the gun into thinking that, of course, based on what the lawyers of Charles Bisu have said, I am in court with you because I'm saying that you are an interested party. So you, whom wrote the letter to Martin Abidou based on the Anasis Galamsey fraud, cannot be the same person, you know, investigating me over this matter. So
Correct.
I do not trust that you'll be fair to me.
Correct.
Good. And I'm saying that, how do you know if this invitation to Charles Bisu has to do with this Anasis matter or not?
They are the only person
Who can tell us?
Who can tell us?
Good, because we don't have specifics.
Don't have to, I'm only telling you
Yes.
what is. I'm not saying that I agree or disagree.
Good,
I'm
but-
only giving out the fact.
That's fine. But isn't
Yes.
it also fair to say that there's a report? The report has been produced by the chairman of a committee whom you are the secretary.
Yes.
So, can't I put the other Anas matter even aside? Can't I invite you for us to look
That is what
at
I'm
this report?
saying. So you don't know
Okay.
why the special prosecutor
Is inviting Charles Bisu.
is inviting him. But he has said, you know, this thing happened before the Frimpong Boateng case.
That is true.
The invitation, the invitation
Way
happened
earlier.
Way earlier.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So that invitation is probably what he's still standing on.
Okay.
See, that
Yeah,
invitation,
right,
that is
right.
why maybe that thing came in.
Okay.
But if Frimpong Boateng, with the special prosecutor, is investigating the ICIM, all right?
Yeah, the incident.
Then he can invite everybody, all the ministers that were involved,
Right.
including the chairman.
Yeah.
Okay? And if he's being fair with Frimpong Boateng, okay, he should invite all of them
Okay.
and probably put all of them under arrest.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Frimpong Boateng is the chairman. I don't know the information they have on Frimpong Boateng.
Right.
Okay? I don't know the information they have,
They have on Frimpong
But when you
Boateng.
single him out, when you single him out
Okay.
and invite him,
Right.
and a person of his stature, don't even give him a self-cognizance bail
Okay.
and put him under a $2 billion bill, that is a hell of questionable. You make the government look bad. Yeah, from this special program, you make the government look bad. Just like people are saying, it is the government which is asking you to do that to Frimpong Boateng. Because you haven't done that to anybody. Nothing. Not that. I heard that, and the newspaper reports and things like that are also not helping this. Okay? Have you heard the OSP
Okay.
saying that they did not go for any warrant? Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's true.
But Joint News reported that the OSP has gone for a warrant.
Right.
The OSP said, we have not gone for any warrant.
Right. And he said, show us the evidence that we're going for a warrant.
Yes. So what is this? Why? Joint News reported, okay, 2 people, in addition to Frimpong Boateng, have been arrested. Is it true that those 2 people have been arrested? No. They have not been arrested. So why are you creating the situation, the press, in this case? Why are you creating the situation to muddy the waters?
Okay. Now let's do this. Now again, my sources are the OSP, and I'm going to come. Please hang on a minute. I'll come back to you. But my sources are the OSP, because whilst we're talking, I was digging. I was trying to get some more information about this matter. Fortunately, somebody has been able to come to my help with some information. Now, you mentioned that one of the reasons why the special Mr. Charles Bisu's lawyers are in court with the special prosecutor, which is Kisi Jabing. This time it's not the office, but he's his person as a special prosecutor, is because of a certain petition that, or a certain report that Kissi Jabin wrote to Martin Amidou.
And he has asked, Charles BCU
Yes.
has asked for Kissi Jabin
Yes.
to produce
the-
a copy of that
of the report.
to
Good.
him.
Now,
Yes.
I have been sent a copy of the report. Now, when you look at the report is actually was actually signed by Anas Arimeyao Anas, Tiger IPI, PO Box CT 11251, Cantonment Accra, 27th February 2019.
2019.
So, Kissi Jabin has, based on this evidence, Kissi Jabin has nothing to do with this report. So that then questions the Charles BCU and his lawyers' effort to sort of, how do I even put it? That then raises the question that on what basis?
That's right. You and I.
Did you get the point I'm making?
You and I cannot answer that.
Okay.
You and I cannot answer that.
Okay, we cannot answer that. I
Yes,
agree with you.
as it goes to court,
Right.
the court and Charles BCU
Okay.
will now have to go to court
Okay.
and prove that even though the signatory on this letter is by Anas,
Okay.
it was actually written by his lawyer, who at that time, by Kissi Jabin, who at that time was his lawyer.
I get it.
You see what I'm saying?
I get it.
Such documentation usually are written, maybe the clients have to sign, but the lawyers compose that letter.
Okay.
Maybe that is why, Charles is saying that. So I like anything that goes to court.
Right.
Okay? So let the court decide whether what Charles is saying is the truth or not.
Or not. Okay.
If it is not, then the case will be thrown out,
Right.
and he will be advised, you see what I'm saying, to cooperate with a special prosecutor
Okay.
in the investigation.
All right.
But his argument that he has been investigated by the CID,
CID.
and therefore I cannot
So
be
leave me alone.
investigated by any other body.
think it's neither here nor there?
It's neither here nor there.
All right.
It's only when he has been convicted,
Yeah.
or the case has been tried and judgment given.
Okay.
That is where you can say, why? Why do you want to try me again?
Right.
Why do you want to send me through all those things?
Right.
But once only investigation, Parliament, he sits down there. Parliament can start an investigation while the CID is also doing the investigation. Is that not correct? Parliament can do investigation.
Right.
Parliament can even ask OSP to do investigation after the police has done it, or CID or Yoko has done it.
Okay.
So that is no argument. Parliament can do that.
Okay, that's fine. So their request is still legitimate. We want to see the report.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Honorable, what do you make of all of this? I mean, the Professor Frimpong Boateng grants an interview. After the interview, news breaks that apparently he was invited a few weeks before the interview was aired. Initially, when we heard that Professor Frimpong Boateng had been invited, the talk in town was that it had been triggered by the interview. Then we find out that apparently he was invited much earlier, and then just when we're having that discussion, we heard Charles BCU has also been invited, and he's actually been wanted. He was invited. He decided not to. His lawyers had issues with the date. Now I'm getting again my source from the Special Prosecutor's Office, which is that he was given different dates, but he still had a difficulty, and so now they decided to notice the public that they were looking for him and all of that. From where you sit, what's your own analysis of all this matter? But I want us to, Abdallah, if we have the Member of Parliament for Medina, Francis Xavier Sosu's video clip, let's play that briefly before the Honourable Member of Parliament for Tamale Central comes in. Please, let's do this quickly.
The arrest yesterday and the commencement of investigation rather create the impression that if you choose to be an anti-corruption crusader, corruption comes fighting you. The institutions come fighting you. That is the impression it creates. It may not be the correct impression, but that is the impression it creates. Everyone can be arrested upon reasonable suspicion of a crime, or maybe by a warrant of a court. So if you indeed are suspected of having committed crime, it's immaterial that you are exposing crime. You could also be arrested. But the point is that we have all monitored from afar the activities of these, the activities of the anti-Galamsey, crusaders and the interministerial committee that has been leading this activity. And we have seen from afar a number of issues raised by their activities, including the damning revelation made by Professor Frimpong Boateng. So one would have thought that if the OSP is really interested in investigating any aspect of the interministerial committee's work, then the OSP will be investigating the committee as a whole and investigating the complaints and the issues they've raised as a whole, but not targeting the head of the leader of the committee in this manner. Clearly, for me, it doesn't show an action in good faith.
So you feel he's been targeted because he's out there to expose elements in this ruling government who have something to do with illegal mining?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt that people have raised concerns about people close to power or people in government that have, interest in illegal mining. And it's sad because I consider any money made out of Galamsey as blood money.
That's the Member of Parliament for the Medina constituency, Francis Xavier. So I'll come back to you, Honorable. What's your take?
Well, good morning, and good morning to my uncle, and good morning to your cherished viewers, and most importantly, the good people of Tamale Central. For a moment, I said I wasn't going to. Interesting one there. Right. Listening to Mr. Sapon, right. I thought, okay, because already he himself declared that he's at the departure room.
Right.
Or is it the departure
lounge?
Departure lounge, yes.
To leave. So I said that, okay, if I'm going to engage someone who is at the departure lounge,
right,
I need to engage him with some, care. But I realized that he was becoming extremely emotional.
He only says at the departure lounge, but you've just looked at the departure lounge. He's not there.
He was behaving like someone who was even preparing to get his visa. To get his visa. And very interesting comments.
Right.
And some of his comments, I must say, that are factually inaccurate.
Okay.
Mr. Sapon, the special prosecutor is not investigating Galamsey. He is investigating alleged or perceived corruption in the activities of Galamsey. And I don't think you're also being fair to Honorable Rashid Palpio. Rashid Palpio, when we played the video, he said that if you are arresting Dr. Frimpong Boateng because of his engagement in the Galamsey activity as the chairman of the interministerial committee, which had a responsibility to coordinate the activities of those institutions fighting Galamsey. Now, and also inviting him or arresting him because of the report that he put out there. Now, certain names were also mentioned. The justification for the arrest of Dr. Frimpong Boateng is fair to use same justification to arrest the others. And if there isn't any justification for the arrest of Dr. Frimpong Boateng, then there couldn't be any justification for the arrest of the other names that were mentioned. That was the statement he made. Now, if you listen to him, he went ahead to say that there should be a committee set up to investigate, in fact, an inquiry to investigate the matter. So, and again, another statement Mr. Sapon made, which I think is factually inaccurate. He says that the special prosecutor's responsibility only is to investigate corruption. I agree, but what is corruption? What is it? Corruption, to a very large extent, is based on perception. Now, if you have evidence by law that someone engages in corruption, there wouldn't be the need to prosecute that person. There is that perception or allegation being made by somebody engaging in corruption, which should occasion an investigation. And even after the investigation is done and prima facie case is established that in itself is not conclusive.
Right.
That person would have to be given the opportunity through a competent court of jurisdiction. The person can have himself cleared, or the person, based on the evidence supported by law provided, the court can convict such a person. So corruption is largely on perception. In fact, the anti-corruption agencies, even International Corruption Perception Index, everything they do is anchored on perception. But the perception must be looked into and possibly investigated to establish that there was corruption or otherwise. So Dr. Rashid Palpio was simply saying that if you are arresting Dr. Frimpong Boateng because of the report he issued and the fact that you are arresting him, then you must arrest any other name he mentioned on it. But mind you, anybody who is investigated by the special prosecutor for the purposes of investigation, such a person could be deemed to be arrested and therefore would have to be granted bail. When they invite you to investigate you, they have the discretion to say, we are arresting you for ABCD. Then you'll be given a self-recognizant bail, or they may even ask you to get someone to bail you. So that was the basis on which Dr. Rashid Palpio made the statement. And he certainly could not have confirmed this position I have taken if he didn't go to say that there should be an inquiry into this matter. It is also significant to note.
But before you go ahead, I think what Sapma was saying was that, yes, it's okay that when somebody is perceived to be corrupt, you don't necessarily need any hardcore evidence. But if there's perception of corruption and you think there's a prima facie case, you can invite the person and basically you can follow up.
You can even arrest the person.
That's fine. But
so I'm saying
what
that
Sapma is saying is this, that when you read the Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, the only time that names like Gabi and Co came in, Gabi, in the case of Gabi, he was lawyer to a mining firm. He called because his clients were facing challenges, he wanted to know, what exactly was the problem.
The irony,
how does that be a reason why you say you want to invite the person to come for investigations?
The irony is the examples we have had in the case of Asha Wang and many other allegations that have been made. And in fact, Asha Wang's case, she was being prosecuted, and we saw how the judiciary was dissipated and disregarded by no less a person than the presidency. And you have the senior minister who traveled outside this country, and the only justification for truncating a legal process, which was handled by a court of competent jurisdiction, was in the so-called of a loan that we want from China. Nobody forced him to make that statement. So I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily need to be direct corruption. Now, when you use your influence, intentionally or unintentionally, to occasion the commission of a crime, that you can be arrested or you can be asked to provide evidence.
So, for example, you get where he's coming from.
I don't get it.
No, his point is that Gabi's firm were using their influence to get something which, in his view, was being illegally done.
It's not
Moro, it's my 10.
No, it's illegal small scale.
Let me tell you one
It's my 10. So when he was speaking, I listened to him. Please, he spoke for almost 20 minutes. So jot them down.
I mean, to be fair,
jot them down. 20 minutes.
Yes,
I was listening, so he should listen to
yes,
me.
Please.
I'm saying that the special prosecutor is not investigating Galamsey. He is investigating alleged corruption occasioned as a result of a body that was instituted to perform just one role, to coordinate the activities of agencies mandated by the state to investigate Galamsey.
That's a very important point.
And about 320 million Ghana cedis was given to this body. That in itself is ridiculous. What kind of work that a body that is given the only mandate to coordinate activities of other state agencies is given 320 million?
But they have to procure machines.
It is not their responsibility.
Drones.
It is not their responsibility.
Lots of drones.
It is not their responsibility.
Why not?
You see, for me, this is what explains why we're hurtling as a state into both economic, social, and political disaster under President Nana Addo. That is the reason why we're hurtling towards that. Why?
You have software.
We are talking, Moro. We are talking about interministerial, committee.
Okay.
It means that committee works in tandem with at least 4 or 5 ministries. Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Local Government. In fact, Ministry of
sanitation,
national security,
there's
and other state, Ministry of Lands and other state agencies.
Forestry Commission.
Why is it that that committee, which mandate was to coordinate the activities of this anti-Galamsey, was given that money to do such procurement? On what basis? If the Ministry of even the Ministry of National Security or Ministry of Interior or local government had done that, there won't be questions raised. There are challenges, governance issues here. There are issues of transparency. And the reason why the special prosecutor had to investigate this matter is because of the issues that came up. But let's also get something very clear, Mr. Sapon. What we are dealing at hand had nothing to do with the court case between Charles Bisu and the special prosecutor. Had absolutely nothing to do with that. Another very interesting statement Mr. Sapon made was that after you read to him, that statement was signed by Mr. Anas Armian, and he says that it was he who wrote it. Ridiculous. If I have a case and my lawyer is even to draft my statement, he drafts what I want to be drafted through his guidance. So that statement is not in the name of the lawyer, it is in the name of his client. So if you tell me, because he is the lawyer and he was Anas's lawyer, even though with evidence that Anas signs that statement, clearly tells you that Anas owns that statement. If there is anything that is made on the statement, and for which reason Anas is going to be convicted or anything done to Anas, it will not be extended to his lawyer. So if you have your case, your lawyer only guides you. In fact, sometimes they ask you to draft it. You write your story, they will look at it and look at the legal implication. True. So you can't tell me because he was Anas's lawyer, and even though Anas signed that document, he wrote it. And where is that coming from? And again, Mr. Sapon says that he thinks that if anybody raises any issue about this Galamsey issue and asking that Gabi and Co. should be arrested or investigated, and he's a lawyer, he's not a good lawyer, he's just being driven by emotions. But your presentations here are largely driven by emotions. Largely. Now you tend to say the NDC. As a matter of fact, another factual inaccurate statement he made. He said the NDC was calling for the arrest of Dr. Frimpong Boateng. And today, the NDC is saying that the others should be arrested. We never said that Dr. Frimpong Boateng alone should be investigated. We said all those engaged in it. And by the way, at that time, the names that have been mentioned in Dr. Frimpong Boateng's report were not mentioned. And in any case, we were making those calls because hundreds of excavators went missing. That was the reason why we made those statements. Again, another very hypocritical statement that comes from NPP, and it's not just Mr. Sapon alone. Now, you listen to him. His argument is that the special prosecutor is an interested party in the matter before court, which he referred to the letter you wrote. We remember when Kisa Ajabin was appointed, and we raised issues. Ministers of state today, and appointees and communicators and national executive officers of MPP argued when we said that he was a friend, a very close friend to Gabi Ochibdako. And we felt that he was not in a better position to dispense justice and fairness. Your argument was that if he was a friend to Gabi Ochibdako, so what? They were friends, and that we all have friends. And that he was appointed as a special prosecutor, and he's a professional, a very intelligent person, and that he was going to discharge his duties and responsibilities in the ambit of law and demonstrating that level of professionalism. Where has that gone today? You are now telling us that he's an interested party in the matter involving Charles Bisu and Anas, Armiao Anas, and therefore he has lost all those independence, all those professionalism. That is the level of hypocrisy in the MPP.
So there's no consistency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we raised the issues of friendship, these were the things you told us. Now you are telling us because he was a lawyer. Wasn't President Nanado lawyer to several people? In matters now today he is the president. Could those people say because he was a lawyer on this issue, and so some of those litigated cases traveled from he being a lawyer till he became a president?
But no, I hope this is not in reference to, I hope you're not directly criticizing what he said, because he was only trying to help us understand. It is not his personal position. It's not his personal position.
Mr. Sapon,
he was helping us to understand
Mr. Sapon
why Charles Bisu is not comfortable.
Mr. Sapon is representing MPP on this program.
No, but Mr. Charles
Hold on.
Yes.
He is representing MPP on this program.
That is true.
I am representing NDC on this program.
That is true.
And therefore, whatever statement that I make about MPP and their inconsistent and hypocritical stance includes him. If you make it, when he said the NDC, he is sitting there. Did I take offense? I represent the NDC on this program. So I'm saying that the inconsistency and the hypocrisy is legendary. It's legendary. But you see, let's look at the most important aspects of it.
But Charles
we are
Bisu's
talking.
issue is not an MPP position.
I am talking about where
Charles
is
Bisu's issue with the special prosecutor is not an MPP position.
I am not talking about
Because you raised it.
I am just raising issues when he questioned why Dr. Rashid Palpiu says that if Dr. Frimpong Boateng is arrested or investigated,
then why not
invite the others?
Right.
And he thinks that is the NDC. Is it an NDC issue?
Of course. I
It's Ghanaian issue.
I guess a Ghanaian
so I'm
issue.
raising that issue.
Yes.
So I'm saying that all these issues have been raised.
Right.
Look, we are talking about 320 million Ghana cedis.
That's a lot of money.
That can build schools in many deprived communities in this country. That can build cheap compounds in many communities in this country. We are talking about 320 million Ghana cedis given to a body with the only responsibility just to coordinate the activities of anti-Galamsey, institutions or committees. And that body is given 320 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Sapon, isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that ridiculous? To the extent that Dr. Frimpong Boateng says that Eco IC was introduced to him by Charles Bisu. And he was in charge of taking care of bulldozers. Bulldozers that had developed wings and left the shores of this country.
I mean excavators.
Excavators. That had developed wings and left the shores of this country. Look, for me, I don't live in an area that you have Galamsey. But I am particularly concerned. Particularly concerned because the areas that Galamsey are done is affecting not just the livelihood of those who live there. It is affecting the livelihood of all of us. Plantations have been affected. Those areas are part and parcel of the food basket of this country. It is affecting everybody. And what affects anybody, any part of this country, should be of cosmic concern to me, Mr. Sapon, and everybody. So this matter, nobody says that anybody has squandered money, but people ought to be investigated. Now my question, again, is that if you listen to the special prosecutor, he says that he has hundreds of people who are being investigated. That's what he says.
Right.
That he has hundreds. So it means that more than 100 people are being investigated on issues that are related to this Galamsey.
Right.
Now, who are those issues? He may not be able to mention. Mind you, it takes Dr. Frimpong Boateng to reignite this issue. So it means that if Dr. Frimpong Boateng never said this, all the stories we wouldn't have heard.
Okay.
The stories coming and the defense that is desperately being put by people within the Flagstaff House and communicators of this government. Okay. If Dr. Frimpong Boateng never raised this issue, we wouldn't have known. And some of those issues and the defense against Dr. Frimpong Boateng's position is very clear that they knew about those informations. Okay. So if you knew about those informations, why were you not giving us to the people of this country? Okay. Transparent and accountable governance. You must give information, not only information that is being sorted, that is sought for. You give information because people must come to speed as to how the country is being run. And most significantly, in the matter of when our lands are degraded, the natural habitats are destroyed, when the livelihood of people are being affected. Our water bodies, you can just buy bread, fetch it, and add some sugar, and that becomes tea and milk.
But the presidency has explained to you, Mutala, that the reason why initially they didn't take the report seriously, because the report didn't meet the threshold. I mean, it was somebody's personal opinion, somebody's personal feelings. It had nothing to do with
it would be disaster if you want to take any word coming from this president with all seriousness in the matter of Galamsey. This was a man who said that he was putting his presidency online to fight Galamsey.
You don't trust him?
All the independent bodies and agencies have said that it's worse today. He said it. Nobody forced him to say it.
Okay.
That he was putting his presidency online to fight Galamsey. Galamsey has gone from bad to worse. If he had some principles, he would have resigned.
Let me read some of the messages that have come through, and then Mr. Sapon, you can come in. And then again, Randolph, I don't know whether you're still on, because you just want us to give you 5 minutes for you to wrap, for you to land and land safely, so that you don't crash land. So Randolph, if you're there, I'll come to you just briefly, because I'll need my resource persons to also do their final take on this matter so that we can leave. If the NPP think that they have done a good job, then they should let the people decide who becomes the next president. It's simple. That's coming from Ablade, Ifyakuma Zongo Takrade. The office serves as an independent independent investigation and prosecution body to make inquiries into corruption, bribery, or other criminal cases at the national level, whether they be in public or private sector. Please read it to the man, the MPP man. Maybe he didn't read about the special prosecutor before coming to studio. You saw him read copiously from the special prosecutor's website, so he knew exactly what he was talking about. You may disagree with him in terms of interpretation, but doesn't mean he's not reading. Good morning, Moro. My greetings to your views across the globe and the good people of Sege constituency. I'm watching you live from Oxford, UK. Please tell the NPP communicator to reassess his definition of corruption. Even the intent to abuse or use one's office or position of influence to deliberately or otherwise for personal gains is corruption. The call for the arrest of these persons cited in Professor Boaten's report shouldn't be treated as politics of old. Any discerning government with clearly, Mr. Sapon and any discerning government with clearly defined intent to promote good governance would have called for immediate investigation and prosecution of these persons. What would be the intent for willfully adding or engaging directly on the destruction of our forest reserves and water resources, even against the president's call to halt Galamsey? Enough of this showmanship and tomfoolery of the Ghanaian people by these supposed wise government. Galamsey defeated this government and should bow its head in shame. Isaac Benate. Good morning. My name is Kweku Hazel. I don't agree with Mr. Sapon that corruption is only when money exchange hands. One can use his position or office or influence or situation. That's corruption. Now, Honorable Charles Bisu should make himself available to the office of the special prosecutor if he is law-abiding citizen and has nothing to hide. Kisia Mwakon from Kaswa. Good morning, Moro. MPP communicator will go any level to defend Gabi or Chidako and Jubilee House people because they have all blah, blah, blah. Okay, you don't know about they benefiting from anything, so I can't read that. Good morning, comrade. Mr. Sapon should give us a break. See the definition of corruption. Dishonest or illegal behavior, especially of people in authority, allegations of bribery and corruption. The new district attorney has promised to fight police corruption, and it goes on and on and on and on. But you didn't tell us the source of this definition. That's extremely important. That's come from Muzato inside Gomwa Domenase. What law in Ghana says lobbying for someone or pleading on behalf of an alleged offender, it's in itself a criminal offense? It's coming from Accra. Good morning, Metro TV. Dr. Sapon is just speaking big grammar. Corruption against Galamsey is corruption. Good morning to you and your panelists. Please help me thank the MPP rep for the beautiful dissection of the proofs report and how it relates to the SP's office. Thank you, Mohammed Gomeri from Tamale North. Blueprint writes from Esikuma Ketan. No, I think it's Kado Ketan. The OSP has lost credibility when it comes to fighting corruption because he himself was benefiting from the work of Anas, and so he has no moral right to even talk about corruption. But how is that? I just don't understand. But anyway, this one finally, this one here says, the hard fact is that this government just came to mess up the economy. MPP never again. Kwegu from La Paz. And good morning, sir. I'm watching you live from inside Prisons Barracks, Takwa, Westridge. Keep the fire on. I'm enjoying the show. First time watching and I'm impressed. Good morning, Moro. Today, the review is no longer cancellation. We thank God. Okay, I don't know why Haruna is talking about review, because that's not what we're talking about. But anyway, Mr. Sapon, because if you can have 5 minutes to just do it.
Yeah, see, there are so many things he said.
He said that, okay.
I've just said something
Right.
that is not true. But
Right.
he goes on to listen, say the same thing that I'm saying in a different way.
Right.
Okay, for instance, I didn't say that this and the special prosecutor is investigating Galamsey.
Right.
I didn't say that.
Right.
I didn't say that. But I said, if you take it critically, special prosecutors say, even the ICIM. Okay? He says,
I never said you said he was investigating Galamsey.
No. Oh, that's what you said.
No, I made that statement to say that because you said Galamsey is not corruption.
Okay, so I'm told we have to take a short break. It's been timed. So it's just 1 minute and I'll come back to you. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sorry about that. Mr. Sapong is passionate about the issue, so even off air, he's analyzing it. But in case you just tuned in, we've been having a very interesting and insightful conversation about where we're headed with fight against corruption, of course, relative to the special prosecutor's work and the back and forth between him and Mr. Charles Bisu, who is the former secretary of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining. And we're trying to ask whether indeed the special prosecutor is doing a good job, whether indeed he's on fire, but if he's on fire, is he burning the right people? You know, that's extremely important. And whether indeed Charles Bisu should just honor the invitation willingly without necessarily having to play this back and forth with the special prosecutor. So in the studio with me is Mr. Kwabena Sapong. It's one one of the finest gentlemen in the NPP. He's very passionate about the party and what the party does. He defends the party as and when he has time. He's a very busy man. He's been with us since morning. And also the hardworking member of parliament for Tamale Central, that's the Honorable Murtala, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, who's actually gone opposed, which is not surprising. It didn't come as a shock to any of us because he's doing a good job. And when you do a good job, your people can appreciate it. And so there's no point giving you any wahala. So, Honorable, I think I'll come back to you, Mr. Sapon, because you were on the floor. Thank you so very much. Please go ahead.
Mutala, you and Dr. Pwepu, you almost look alike.
Right.
When I saw you, as a matter of fact, it was Dr. Pwepu I was referring to.
Right.
Now, you see,
Please go ahead.
like I said, it's only the OSP who can decide what an act, what corruption act is.
Right.
So I am saying that, looking at the fact that he has not invited these four guys, probably based on the information from Pomboatin gave, he doesn't see any corrupt act by these guys. Maybe that is why he has not invited them, because he's there to invite only corruption and nothing more. Okay, that is what. And also on Charles Bisu, I didn't come to say this is why the OSP should be is doing. Or this is what is happening. That is between OSP and Charles. It's not my view. It's not my position. I only stated what Charles Bisu is saying.
But there's John in his.
So if you are criticizing it, don't say the MP, Sapon and MPP are saying. Say Charles Bisu's position is wrong,
Right.
or correct. I only provided that information. I made it specific. I didn't say mine. In fact, I repeated it in that end.
That's fine.
Okay, and I said even he has to, that on that letter, if you remember, I said he now has to go to court and prove to the court that it was John Kisi Ejapin who wrote that letter.
Right.
That's what I said.
Okay.
So I take into consideration the fact that this letter has announced signature. It means it's announced work.
It's a statement, yeah.
It's not work. But if you are taking him to court to say that Mutala, you wrote it, okay, then here he goes to court. He has to prove to court that actually you, Mutala, wrote this letter, even though it is signed by Anas.
Let's make progress now.
That is what I was trying to explain.
Should Charles Bisu just honor the invitation and allow sleep?
Yes, but see, it hurts me
Okay.
that such a hideous activity destroying everybody in this country, we are reducing it to personalities. Galamsey, it's something that every one of us must be interested in fighting. And at this stage, we must ask, why have we spent 300 million, what?
320 million.
320 million CDs? From what Watson said, they made a progress. I don't accept it. As far as I'm concerned, the condition is worse. If we made a progress, the water should be clean now.
Okay.
When we started, the water was dirty. Is it clean now?
Right.
When we started, people were destroying lands. Are they still destroying lands? So when somebody said that we've been successful with Galamsey, me, Kwabena Sapon, I said no. President Wada, nani na egu abontin. That is true. Translate it for them.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
I spent 2 years at KNU.
So you know this one you understand. Yeah.
You understand?
You mean the empire is naked, isn't it?
Yes.
As far as Galamsey is concerned.
Yes. He thinks he's fighting.
He's fighting corruption.
But the people in the field who are supposed to help him fight it are not.
They've let him down. They've disappointed
They let him down. And we must all forget about Frimpong Boateng, forget about John Bisu, and let's put our attention to getting this cancer out of our system.
That's what is more important.
Okay, and I'll give you an example, 2 examples that, in my opinion, if we do, can help. And that is, 1, authority. The political will to stop it has to be there. And the chiefs in our society.
Okay.
Have you heard of Mampohene in the Ashanti region?
Yes, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, people took licenses to go there and mine, surface mining. He told them, "You are not mining."
So the role of the chiefs. The role of the chiefs.
All right?
Okay.
And Mampohene stopped
Okay.
that activity from going on.
Okay.
I'll give you another example where authority works.
Right.
Captain Kodak, that we are
Okay.
mentioning his name. Somebody, a district chief executive in his district, there's Galamsey on his nose. You see, it's in Hano. So there's a Captain Kodak drew his attention, the DC's attention, said, please, go and stop this thing. They are destroying the place. DC came back later on and said, oh, Captain, when we went, we didn't see anybody. All right? Later on, Captain Kodak called him and said, look, DC, I'm giving you 1 week. Go and stop that people, or I'll do two things. I'll report you to the president, and I'll bring soldiers to harass you guys over there.
Okay.
Within 2 days,
They stopped it.
he stopped.
That's it.
Even though Captain Kodak couldn't move troops, you know that.
All
He
right.
can't move troops.
Okay.
But because he knew when he said he will report him to the president,
Yes.
and if he reports him to the president may fire him.
Okay. He
He
stopped.
quickly went and did.
Okay.
So if the chiefs will help us and the political will to punish,
Okay.
okay, and those that we send out there to inspect, I always blame Mineral Commission and Forestry Commission.
Okay.
They are the
All right.
first. No, let me talk. Let me explain.
You know,
it.
he's at the departure lounge.
I know.
They are the first line of a defense
Right.
against Galamsey.
Okay.
Mineral Commission knows people are using prospecting license to mine. Have they mined any attempt to stop anybody? This heritage mining, they were using prospecting license to destroy the forest that Major died.
Yeah.
All right? They changed their name, came back, and you get them the same prospecting license to go to Ashanti region and do the same thing there. And you are chief executive, you are sitting down there, you are fired.
You're fired.
Moro, clearly, I said something earlier, and I want to repeat same. The reason why this country is hurtling towards both socio-economic and political disaster is because of the lack of political will.
That's what all of this comes down to.
In this country, we had a minister for local government who, in a meeting with all MMDCs, stated that we know those of you who are engaged in Galamsey and will come after you. This was my big sister, Honorable Ajay Alima Mahama. So it means that for a minister of state to gather MMDCs and told them in their faces through national television that we know those of you who are engaged in Galamsey will come after you. Yet not a single MMDC was actually sought, was actually arrested, or was actually fired as a result of the so-called knowledge the Minister for Local Government had. And clearly, the president knew, because if a minister of state should have this information, she certainly would have laid same information to the president. Two, Mr. Charles Bisu, when he was caught in the video which is yet to be established by a court of competent jurisdiction, whether indeed he being seen taking money amounted to Galamsey or another, I am not in the position to do. But what people expected the president to do at that time was to have asked him to keep a distance from the Flagstaff House. He was still at the Flagstaff House until we had the 2020 elections. What climaxed everything was the legendary Aisha Wang. This is a Chinese who came to our country, destroyed our water bodies. This man was arrested by the same institutions Mr. Sapon is so angry about because they are not doing what they are supposed to do, and I agree with him. Then the person was being prosecuted by a court of competent jurisdiction. It took the state to get this person out. I can bet my last penny. If President Mahama was the president and such a thing happened, they would have been having a yearly annual condemnation of President Mahama for disrespecting the judiciary. That is the level of hypocrisy in this country. And no wonder you find judges who sit and says that some people loot and share. Yet today, those judges are still in this country. When we have those who came and met, and what they do is loot, and nobody says anything. You see, the political will, and I must say, should not be limited at the presidency. It should be extended to everybody. Look, there is evidence that some MPs are engaged in Galamsey. MMDCs are engaged in Galamsey. And these MPP national executive officers are engaged in Galamsey.
All right, Mutala.
Ministers are engaged in Galamsey.
Right. Mutala, I want to thank you very much. The Honorable Mutala Mohammed is the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, and also Mr. Kwabena Sapon is a member of the MPP's communications team. I also want to thank Lawyer Rindolph Chumesiankra for his time. Yes, we're done. We're done for the day. Thank you so very much for watching. Next week, Saturday, we're back. Thank you. Have a great weekend.